Welcome to the Solimi Dreams channel. Gently turn off the lights in your room, slip on your headphones or set the volume just right and close your eyes. I hope sleep finds you peacefully, perhaps even before the story comes to an end. So now, without delay, let me softly begin tonight's story. SCP-823, the bloody Carnival's last survivors. The sun hung low over the tree line, bleeding pale gold across the abandoned amusement park. Agent Paul Henderson stepped carefully through the cracked asphalt of the main path, the once colorful banners fluttering in the soft evening breeze. Birds circled overhead, but none dared land within. SCP-823. Paul had read the file a dozen times. An anomalous amusement park located in Riverside County, shut down after the bloody incident of 1983, where over 200 visitors were found mutilated, dismembered, or grotesquely altered. The cause was unknown, the source unclear, except that the park itself seemed to hunger. The Foundation had cordoned it off with a wide perimeter, posted guards, and even surrounded it with mimetic warning fields to discourage entry. But tonight, something had broken containment. The last remote drone sent inside had stopped transmitting. Now, Paul and his team were going in. Echo 7 status check, he murmured into his comm. Echo 7, all green, came Maria's voice. No movement on thermal, but this place is wrong, Paul. He couldn't argue. The carnival felt alive. The rides, twisted skeletons of rusting metal, loomed like dying giants. Their shadows stretched unnaturally long. The air was thick, cloying, carrying the faintest trace of burnt sugar and something else. Copper, rot, and the sickly sweet scent of old blood. As Paul passed the Ferris wheel, its rusted cabins swayed gently in the still air, creaking softly. His flashlight beam caught flickers of movement, shapes darting behind booths, hands pulling back faded curtains, the gleam of two sharp teeth in the dark. But every time he spun around, there was nothing. Stay sharp, Paul said softly. Maria fell in beside him, her eyes darting. Behind them, Agent Sato and Dr. Emily Watts moved carefully, scanning the structures with handheld devices. Emily was new to field work. Her specialty was anomalies mimetics, but Paul trusted her instincts. The group approached the central plaza. Here, the old merry-go-round stood still, its once bright horses peeling and cracked. Some figures were missing heads. Others had strange growths along their flanks, shapes that looked disturbingly organic. Emily swallowed hard. You feel that? Paul nodded. Pressure, like the air's too heavy. Sato frowned. No readings. EM fields flat. This place should be dead. But it wasn't. The radio crackled suddenly. "Help!" A faint voice. Paul froze. "Say again, command." "Inside. Help us." Maria paled. "That's not command." The voice came again, stronger this time, breaking through the static. "We're waiting for you, Paul." Paul's blood turned cold. "Who is this?" he demanded. The radio hissed, then softly. "Don't you remember?" Suddenly the carousel flickered to life. The lights burst on, casting garish, spinning colors across the square. The horses twitched, their heads jerking unnaturally, teeth bared. The calliope music began to play, warped, discordant, as if the pipes themselves were rotting from the inside. "Fall back," Paul barked, but the plaza shifted. The pathways twisted, elongating into impossible spirals. The booths stretched outward, reshaping the geometry of the space. The ground beneath their feet rippled like liquid, pulling them deeper into the heart of the carnival. Sato stumbled, cursing. Maria fired a flare, but the light was swallowed whole by the thickening shadows. Emily gasped, pointing. At the far end of the plaza, the big-top tent had appeared. Its fabric rippled unnaturally, the entrance yawning wide. Figures stood at the opening, silhouettes of clowns, dancers, barkers, but their proportions were wrong, too tall, too thin, their faces split into jagged, toothy grins. Paul's radio hissed again. "Come inside, Paul. We missed you." He squeezed his eyes shut. "Ignore it. Everyone. On me. We get to the perimeter, call for extraction, and we're done." But the path back was gone. Where there had been an entrance, there was now only a spinning tunnel of lights, shifting too fast, colors warping and twisting. The ground underfoot felt soft, breathing. Emily screamed. Paul spun, just in time to see one of the figures at the big top lunge forward, its arms elongating, mouth splitting open far too wide. Sato shoved Emily aside, opening fire. Bullets tore into the figure, but it didn't bleed. It laughed. The laughter rolled across the plaza, shaking the very ground. "Run!" Paul roared. They sprinted toward the games alley, dodging past booths with faded signs. Ring toss. Win a prize. Test your strength. Shapes stirred within. Dolls that moved on their own. Animatronic bears with broken, twitching limbs. Eyes that gleamed red in the dark. Paul's chest burned. His lungs screamed. Ahead, Maria kicked open a side door leading into the funhouse. "Better than staying out here," she shouted. They dove inside. The mirrors lined the walls, cracked and warped. The reflections were wrong. Too many eyes, mouths grinning too wide, faces that didn't belong to them. Paul's reflection raised its gun, smiling, even though his real arms were empty. Emily pressed a hand to her head, gasping. "It's in my mind." Paul grabbed her shoulder. "Stay with me." The mirrors pulsed and the walls rippled. Suddenly, they weren't in the funhouse anymore. They were back in the plaza, or what remained of it. The carousel spun wildly, horses now twisted abominations, hooves replaced by claws, heads split open with rows of glistening teeth. The Ferris wheel turned, but the cabins were filled with writhing shapes, pale hands pressed against the glass. The big top towered above them, its entrance pulsing like a living throat. Paul's radio buzzed once more. "Inside, Paul. You left us here." Memories crashed over him. He had been here before, years ago, during the initial containment breach. He had led the first response team, the first to enter SCP-823 after the bloody incident. But they hadn't all made it out. Faces filled his mind, faces of teammates, friends, torn apart by the anomaly, swallowed by the Carnival's hunger. And now it wanted him back. Paul raised his gun, hands shaking. No, not this time. Maria and Sato flanked him, weapons ready. Emily gritted her teeth, forcing herself upright. Together they advanced toward the big top. The tent flaps parted as they approached, revealing a cavernous space within, far larger than physics should allow. The interior stretched into darkness, filled with whispering shapes, glowing eyes, and the faintest trace of music. A voice echoed, deep and ancient. "Welcome back." The ground split open beneath their feet. They fell. Paul tumbled through cold, choking darkness, the air filled with laughter, screams, and the pounding rhythm of carnival drums. He hit the ground hard, gasping, scrambling to his feet. Around him, the others stirred, dazed but alive. The space they had landed in was vast, a sunken arena surrounded by bleachers filled with shadowy figures. Clowns, dancers, malformed animals, all watching silently. At the center stood a figure. It wore a ringmaster's coat, crimson and gold, its face hidden behind a cracked porcelain mask. Its eyes gleamed from within, twin points of searing light. "Paul," it said softly, its voice both everywhere and nowhere. "Why did you leave us?" Paul raised his gun. "You're just an anomaly." The figure tilted its head. "We are the Carnival. We are what you made us." With a flick of its wrist, the arena floor rippled. From the ground, shapes erupted, twisted echoes of the past, the long-dead members of Paul's old team, their faces half-rotted, their mouths stitched into permanent smiles. Emily screamed. Sato fired. Maria cursed, backing up. But the dead didn't stop. Paul clenched his jaw. He knew what he had to do. He slammed the emergency beacon onto the ground, triggering the containment failsafe. A pulse of energy shot outward, disrupting the anomalies' hold, at least temporarily. The ringmaster hissed, its mask cracking. The shadows screamed. Paul grabbed his team, dragging them toward the rippling breach now tearing through the arena walls. Light split the darkness, and then they were out. 3 days later, Paul sat in the debriefing room, staring blankly at the table. His hands trembled slightly, though he kept them clenched in his lap. They had escaped, barely. The Foundation had resealed SCP-823, reinforced the containment fields, and issued strict no-entry orders. But Paul knew it was only temporary. That night, as he sat alone in his quarters, his radio crackled softly on the desk. He reached out, hesitated. Then from the speaker, a whisper, "We'll be waiting, Paul." The carnival never ends. I hope you've already drifted off into a peaceful sleep. If not, I truly hope the upcoming stories on my channel will help you get there. If you enjoyed this one, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'd be so happy if you liked and shared this video with your friends. It means a lot and gives me the encouragement to keep creating more stories like this.